Namaskar. I'm Kumar Rakesh. Welcome to Global Governance TV. And today we'll discuss religion and secularism. What the religion and what is secularism? Why? How many countries just follow the theory of secularism? Religion as well as important, and secularism as well important. And on the if you see the definition of religion and definition of secularism, then we'll go. The religion is a social cultural system of designated behaviors and practices, morals, beliefs, worldviews, texts, sanct- sanctified places, prophecies, ethics, or organizations that relates humanity to supernatural, transcendental, and spiritual elements. However, there is no scholarly consensus over the precisely constitute a religion. Different religions may or may not contain various elements, ranging from the divine, sacred things, faith, a supernatural being of supernatural beings, or some sort of ultimacy and transcendence that will provide norms and power for the rest of life. Religious practices may include rituals, sermons, commemoration or the veneration of the deities and saints, sacrifices, festivals, feasts, trances, initiations, funerary services, matrimonial services, meditation, prayer, music, art, dance, public service, and other aspects of the human culture. Religion have sacred histories and narratives which may be preserved in sacred scriptures and symbols and holy places that are mostly that aim to mostly give a meaning of life. So how we just define our life with the religion, that is also the also meaning of life, and how the concept in etymology. This is a vast subject, so what we have discussed on the focus related to the, not in India, related to the world, how the country has adopted the religion and how the modern society is going with that. And another format is the secularism. Secularism is the principle of seeking to conduct human affairs based on the secular naturalistic consideration. It is most commonly defined as the separation of religion from the civic affairs and the state, and may be broadened to a similar position concerning the need to remove or minimize the role of religion in any public sphere. That is a matter of confrontation. How just you confront they minimize the role of religion in any public spheres. The term that has a broad range of meaning and the most Semitic may encapsulate any stance and promotes the secular in any given context. It may connote the articularism, atheism, naturalism, and removal of religious symbols from the public institutions. As a philosophy, secularism seeks to interpret life based on principle derived solely from the material world without recourse to religion. It shifts the focus from religions toward the temporal and material concern. But if you mix the religion and secularism, how in constitutional democracy, this is also just the interesting facts that what we're going to discuss now. The polarization between the political religionist and the militant secularist on the both sides of Atlantic in the rise, critically engaging with the traditional secularism and religious accommodatism. The collection, the constitutional secularism that obviously meets contemporary challenges. It identified which connections between religion and the states are compatible. The liberal, republican, and democratic principles of constitutional democracy and assess the success of this implementation of birthplace of political secularism, the United States and Western Europe. So this so a- approaching the issues of philosophical, legal, historical, political, and sociological perspective, the contributors ways through defense, how we just contribute the defense for the projects, theoretical and national legitimation. So on this all subjects, how the religion is going, how the uh, secularism is going parallelly, and how in the if you talk the context of the India, so India is just going to the both way and very confusing state of mind. As we discussed the Canada and Spain and just as I say the birthplace, the political secularism, Western Europe and United States. So on this basis, uh, I'll discuss with all our esteemed panelists and Mr. Alok Lahad from Spain and talk about the birthplace of Western Europe and uh, about the secularism and religion, as well as we have Rakesh Tiwari from Toronto. He is editor-in-chief of in the Chimes Group, and Anita Choudhary, a senior journalist and political analyst, and always discussed many times in the Indian Constitution. So we'll take the Indian aspect from her. Vandana Jhingan from Chicago, USA, senior journalist and social activist also. Praveen Bhai Patel from the UK, London. So he's a social scientist and also keep on eye the how this definition the mingles to each other. And Dr. R.P. Bhatt, a scholar from the Germany and living in Hamburg. So I'll start this definition from the Western Europe, and then I'll take the country by country. So I think not to the, I think we'll just take the with the time frame. First introduce the 2 to 3 minute maximum, and accordingly just round wise we'll discuss. Alok. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Rakesh ji. And
I think network problem. I think some network issue is from the Alok Lahad. So I think there's some network issue from your side. Alok.
is it my okay? I'll start again.
Yeah.
You said that the concept of this secularism comes from Western Union. I'll
Western
beg
Europe.
to differ on this, because even in our own in our culture, we have always talked about Bahujan Samay and Bahujan Sukhai, which
Yeah.
obviously means this. And not only this, I was just going through certain documents. Now, what is happening is that we are using the Western historians' concept of teaching us history and not looking into what has already existed in India. So, for example, the Rocket Edict number 12, which is about 250 BC from Ashoka, the Emperor Ashoka the Great, he very clearly talks about like what secularism should be. He clearly says that there should not be honor of one's own religion, sect, and condemnation of others without any ground. So it very clearly, he's saying that there should be respect for all religions, and our culture in India has been for respect with all religions. In case of Western Europe, what happens is that the church and the monarchy, which was the norm then, was almost always intermingling. So the religion and politics, it went hand in hand. On the contrary, the church in itself was so powerful that it is in the second half of the 17th century that John Locke comes up with this idea of having separating religion from the politics. So that is, as soon as it takes Europe as much as 17th century to come down to, like, we're talking about what Ashok's edict says in 250 BC. And then we talk about Europe, where most of the time the Pope has a very upper hand on lots of Catholic monarchies. And then till second half of the 17th century, John Locke comes up with this idea of separating religion. And I think to some extent it has been separated in Europe. We'll talk about this as we go down the show. But in general, what I would like to point out, so that we can take two tangents from there, that secularism in Western Europe has a different definition vis-a-vis the definition that we have given it in India. For example, like there are three very important things in the Western secularism. One is you have the right to practice your religion. The second is that you have your general rights as a citizen, and of course then the separation of the religion from the polity or the government in itself, which is not the case in India. It is not that it is so clear cut in Europe also. There are certain overlaps, but I think as we go down, we'll see that in certain countries it could be similar to India, although not going to such an extent. In other countries, it's very clear cut, like the case could be of France and Germany.
Okay. As
Can't hear you.
just a moment. Sorry, some some thought problem was there. So
That's okay. Take it easy.
okay. So as Alok ji just you mentioned about the Western Europe about the secularism, there's so many types of secularism, but the meaning of secularism is clearly not mingle with the religion. Dr. Bhatt, if you're talking the Europe and you're living and already teaching in Europe and the Germany, so how we define this? I think the subject is religion and not religion and secularism. Actually, always mingle with the religion versus secularism. Some country accept, okay, we are a religious country. If you see the OIC, 57 countries member, Organization of Islamic Countries, once they are advocating the Islam, another way, the other so many countries who just converted themselves in the Islam and other way, they advocate the secularism. So, do we think this religion and secularism go together?
Rakesh, many thanks for inviting me for this wonderful discussion. I think this is really an important discussion that's taking place today. Yes, as Lahad has mentioned, the ethos and the cultural memory of India, I think we can rely on that very much. When we talk about secularism, even the definition you have drawn out the wonderful lines there, there is a clear-cut distinction between the Western secularism and Indian secularism. I would call Indian secularism not a Western secularism at all. It's a kind of pseudo-secularism that we have in India. And we have reasons for that. Because the ethos of India is different, the belief system of India is much different than the monotheism in the West. And therefore, we cannot compare them or put them one to one. And I'm really sometimes pretty annoyed by these, funny journalists, Western journalists working in India, having no knowledge of Indian, culture or, religion and the life system at all. Because Indian life system begins with the secularism, the idea of secularism is there. And that is why if you, see people, even, they go anywhere, whether it is a church, whether it is a mosque, mosque less, but tombs, for example, they bow down to that. They go, they visit there. So this is nothing new for Indians because Indians have evolved in that way. They respect the nature and they, put lot of stress on these factors, or it's part of life, part and parcel. In the West, of course, Lahad has already mentioned it. They were fighting and there were a lot of problems. Religion has actually caused a lot of problems all over the world and in the West very much. Look what happened in 16th century, 17th century Europe. what they did to Africa, what they did to South America, what they did to India also, and it is in their, in their religion that, that they are spreading it, and they have to spread it because it is, built in that there. Today's Europe, of course, is different because they have made a distinction between the state and religion. The state and the polity must be different and must be independent. They should not interfere in religious matters, but religious matters must also not interfere in polity and the state. And that is the difference between Western, definition of secularism and Indian. Because India, look at the Indian Constitution. If you look at the first, volume of Indian Constitution, you find all iconography of different gods and goddesses of Hindus in that, Indian Constitution.
Okay.
And also because Indian, law system. Look all these laws. Divorce law, marriage law, things. All these, they are not. It's not uniform. We have, different law for Hindus, different law for Muslims, different for Sikhs, and then you have also, this foreign act or something like that. So there is a huge gap, huge difference, and the problem is that the Western, I would stress again, Western journalists, they have no idea how India functions, what the ethos and cultural memory of
Dr. Bharje, I'm just sorry for interruption. Here we discussing the general definition of religion and secularism as well as the found in Europe. After that, will the second round and third round will take the India and how the religion secularism. Because all are just know India very well. So I'll take first Praveen Patel. Just how you define these two things in the Indian is an international polity as well as just in UK politics. Now we have been facing the so many tunes from the different religions, either from the Islam and other religions in the UK. So how do you just correlate these two factors in the UK politics as well as society? I think there is some connectivity problem. Praveen bhai, my question to you.
Yes.
My question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question to you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So my question is to you: how does now at present UK society is going through just from this religion and secularism, and how the one religion, just Islam, is going to dominate the UK society as they advocate for the secularism. So how do you analyze the situation in the current situation and the theoretical situation of UK?
Okay, let me, I'm no expert in these matters, but...
Oh my God, the network problem is. That's the UK problem. I think today Canada is stable now. So that's something different. So let that come the Praveen bhai, then I'll take the Vandana ji. So all the...
Sorry about this. It seems as though I get cut off quite regularly for whatever reasons.
Some network problem actually. When just you are...
Yeah.
Please
but
go
let
ahead.
Me, let me clarify very quickly. I'm not an expert in this subject matter, but we've got to understand that United Kingdom, the head of the church, is very much involved in the politics as well, which is the Queen. And the British Parliament, the head is the Queen. So we've got to look at it from that angle. Having said that, England is a secular country because we are allowed to follow our religious beliefs in any which way we want.
I'll let the connection should be correct. I'll take the Vandana ji. Vandana ji, just how in the context of USA, I think
the Christians in this country are becoming like, they accept things, but because of the political situation in the sense that they cannot criticize any religion openly. Okay? In fact, all of us, we cannot criticize. But the Muslims have taken considerable control via the political lines. The councils are, many councils are controlled by the Muslims. Many MPs are Muslim.
So interesting topic, and so network is, my God. What should I do now? So I'll check later the text of the Praveen Bhai. This is just an interruption. So sorry for that. So Vandana ji, just how do you analyze these two things in the context of USA?
This is my first right, constitutional. We have 6 major points. One is, and that is the first one, religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. Is being practiced? Yes, absolutely. When we need to have temples here, we do have to follow the same protocol. I just want to tell you one thing. For you to sit in India for the Ram Mandir, how much struggle you have done. I moved to US like almost 3 decades ago. And in Chicagoland itself, I have done the Pran Pratishtha of more than 52 temples. Can you believe that? So everything goes on a procedure. And so are the mosques coming. I'm not saying that. Gurdwaras. There used to be just one Gurdwara. Now we have 5 in Chicagoland. So coming back to in India, when we talk about, this world secularism has become our biggest joke. I love the poster that you have put it, but the sad part is, even if you feel bad, I am not going to deny by saying that, because the 3 are all one side. The first, the Panditji with the Bodhi, is the most neglected one. So we have changed the spelling of the word secularism in India. We have made it SICKULAR. If we live like secular, like the way it has been spelled, I think that will be better. So much has come after 2014, much more needed. India needs to have the UCC, because otherwise, we just hear in Delhi itself, how could that be the Maulavi or the Qazi, whosoever from the mosque gets the monthly payment? Why not it is given to the Gurudwara guy, the Patiji? Why it is not given to every temple's priest? Why it is not given to the church, the padri of the church? So that has to be seen if we really want to live. And then if federal government has to interfere, I mean the central government, they should interfere. It should not be a subject of the states, because then they do, because the politics starts playing on the caste, religion, this and that. So then it gets ugly and ugly and ugly. Thank you.
No,
I think some I don't know today. Just USA net problem also like that. So we can't. It's, it's still now. That's really also just a problem to connectivity of the Dr. Bhatt. So Anita ji, just Vandana was talking about the India, and in India how the politics is going on, the name of the secularism. We have seen, we have experienced about how just India has been passing through and caused. So as well as just you will see that is a blunder with the Indian Constitution, as we know, in 1975-6, 42nd Amendment in Indian Constitution by Indira Gandhi. That time the emergency, they amended and put the word, another amendment, secularism. And as I think, you all the panelists may correct me, religion and secularism can't go together. And should not. This is so confusing state. So how do you analyze the situation with reference to India?
Thank you, Rakesh ji. As Vandana ji has said, I will go with that line only. And your topic is religion versus secularism. First, we have to understand worldwide that does secularism has defined, does it has a definite definition, that does it has a concrete paragraph which has defined that what do you mean by the secularism. If you will find that, you will find that no, it is not. It's just a word, secularism. And now you have to define it as per your own interest and wish. First thing we have to understand. But in abroad, the thing is that secularism is a social sanctity, but in India is a appeasement identity. This is the difference between foreign countries, you can say the European or American countries, and India. Now we should come to the India, as Vandana ji was talking about the Indian present situation. So I just want to tell you, either it's Ashoka era or Chandragupta Maurya era or whatever it is, on that time also, in my view, secularism means you should be adaptive. India was adaptive on that time also. Many people were coming here and they were doing the studies. India has welcomed them. Either they were from China or any other country. And this was the mistake India has done gradually. Because when Mughals come, India was also on that time also in adaptive mode. And when East India Company launched, India was also on that time was in adaptive mode. And this has destroyed the sanctity of India. They were tried to ruin the culture, custom, and identity of India. Now, after independence in 1947, we have two countries. The one country, they have demanded their own country on the name of the religion only. We should not forget, we have separated on the name of the religion only. So, religion can't be eliminated from Indian soil. It is a part of India, because after 1947, independent India, which has given one part of its land and people on the name of the religion. And now the Hindustan was become, it was but obvious, because Muslims have demanded the Islamic country like Pakistan, so they should go there. But it was a political wish on that time also. On that time, secularism was not introduced in constitution in Nehru's era, but Indira Gandhi has fulfilled his wishes in 1976, and secularism has introduced. But again, secularism has not defined in the constitution. It is just a word with amendment. And now every political party, they use it as an appeasement tool. Indira Gandhi has introduced secularism in constitution. Just two lines. I just want to tell just two lines, and then I will finish my thing. But after that, only appeasement policies has done in India. When it's but best example is when the politics will election will come, you can see the politician how they are running behind their own spiritual places, all because the Congress knows that their mass voters are that topi wala mullahs only. So they go to the mazar. They have tried their best to soft Hindutva, and they have tried the marathon in temples also, but they know that the Hindus are not appeased by Congress since long. So this is the fact. If you will go with OSC, all the speeches, you will find that what kind of bhashan he gives, what kind of statements he gives, and that shows the religious base of India. Religious base of India, still it is going on. So we should not forget, and I agree with your line that religion and secularism, they are the parallel line. They are the parallel line. In India, they can't be together. They can't be together because Indian base is like that. Thank you.
Just take the Rakesh Tiwari ji. Just you living in Canada more than 25 years, and just how you define the secularism in Canadian, just Indo-Canadian, and how you just define in your country context.
Well, thanks so much for coming back to me after half an hour, and I really appreciate it. Now, you mentioned about secularism in Canada. So I will say one thing, that in my humble understanding, the modern democracies which are here in the world, a state must not differentiate its citizen on the basis of religion. That's what it means. A state has no religion. A state has no religion. That's my understanding. The another part goes with when you mention about the Indo-Canadian individuals, person like me, person like whosoever, we can have a religion. And the state religion, such as example has been given by Afghanistan, Pakistan, a lot of countries who have adopted and they have accepted. It means clearly they are saying that one religion, the follower of one religion has more rights than the other religions. Canada is not in such a state. Canada doesn't accept it, and in my humble understanding, India is not as also. In my understanding,
Sir, my concern with you only for Canada first, then we'll comparatively we'll discuss.
I'm talking about Canada.
Please.
I mean, it seems like let me come back. I don't want everybody to jump on me.
Please.
A state, when I'm mentioning it, a state has no business deciding who should be favored or any such religion. A state must treat every religion equally, and no religion should have a superpower over another. That's my understanding of secularism. At the same time, when I go to the Indian context, definitely religion cannot be, we don't have the word called religion. We have a dharma, and that's totally different. That's totally different than the religion, in my understanding. When we talk about dharma, so it comes in so many different ways. But in a modern context, when we talk about dharma or religion in this way, India is in a better place. Secularism, even word, should not be there in the constitution. And the constitution is like you are, I'm forgetting. My son always repeats this word, where you are repeating yourself. In modern democracy, when we are talking about it, states should not have any religion whatsoever. So when you put it that we are secular, somehow you are saying that, oh, we were not secular or something like that. So that should not be the case. However, dharma is totally different. I think we should not go with the Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian. Everybody has their own faith to follow. I have my own religion. You have your own religion. I would like to mention definitely about King Ven, Raja Ven, and who was killed by that time the sages, the sadhus, the monks, or the rishis, were led by Lord Bhrigu at that time. And very interesting, when I was reading this, that
Sir, I humble request you. First, you just stick on the Canada. You are going to the Indian culture.
Why?
Sir,
I have answered you, Canada. I have answered you, Canada. But let me come to my interpretation of when we.
I'll come to you, sir. Again, I'll come to you again with the interpretation of India and other countries.
No, I'm not talking about India. No, I'm not
talking
about India. I'm not talking about India as another country. But let me have my way.
I welcome your way. I regard your way, whatever you are just stating.
Let me complete my line. Then you can take it.
Please.
So you might be knowing about the King Ven, who was killed by at that time by Rishi Bhrigu and other sages and rishis. At that time, very interesting fact was this, that that time. I'm just not going to detail on it. That at that time, the earth, or at that time, his kingdom was there was Durbhiksh, Akal, means you can say that the people, there was land has started
Sir, I know that is the longest story. You can't brief.
I'm not going in long story, sir. What I'm trying to say.
Actually, sir, there is no relation between this religion and secularism.
That's what I'm saying. That has
what you are going to state. I know the King Hindus story and all that. How there was different politics actually. If you go in that,
I think secularism and religion we are talking about at that time. So religion has taken a part to overthrow the government or the king. That's what I'm saying. So even in modern days, when a government is trying to go its own way, the religious people or the religious segments, they overthrow the government and they try to overpower it. And it has happened even in the Mughal period too. So all these things, these are facts. Please continue now.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Sir, may I take question from Praveen Bhai? Actually, that's so the dropping and the Praveen Bhai, may I take question? That is network problem. Just miss. So I'll take Dr. Bhatt now again. How just you analyze my question is, do you think the religion and secularism can go together? One, religion is important or secularism is important? Two, for Germany and for the India as well as. This is a question to all panelists.
Thank you, Rakesh. Yes,
yeah.
Just to before I answer your question,
please.
I'm irritated by Rakesh ji, by Tiwari ji. What he has mentioned about Vena. First off, is not vain, is Vena, and it is clearly mentioned in the scripture that this king became corrupt. He would, really, annoy people, and then Mother Earth became angry, and took shape of a cow, and then vanished, and then people became angry, and the rishis killed him. So the relation is totally different.
Yeah.
So okay, I've put the full stop here. Now, the idea of secularism and religion in the West and in India, for me, are different. In the West, we have to understand that in Western world and Arabic world, the religion are monotheist. There is a prophet and there is a son of God. Okay, and then story goes on. That is not the case in India, not in Hinduism. Hinduism is even not, you cannot put them parallel. For me as a scholar, I think it's very difficult sometimes to tell people that they need to try to understand the differences between between Indian society, Indian culture, and Indian ethos, and the Western idea of religion and secularism. In India, in Western countries, it is possible to be secular in their terms, whatever they have decided, whatever they have written down. Because, first of all, this is monotheism here. Secondly, the linguistic barrier is not there. Third, it's more or less the same ethnic groups. And fourth, of course, they are very smaller countries. India is currently India is 9.5 times larger than Germany, today's Germany. And look at the ethnics, look at the linguistic, variation of languages, cultural differences, what we wear, how we pray, how we have faith. I mean, this is huge. This is very different. So therefore, I would not put them together. Indian ethos is different, therefore, and I think when India became independent, we were not mature enough to see what our past was. Secondly, what we have, we were ruled by foreign powers. India was not independent, like, for example, let's talk about Germany or France or elsewhere or England. They have different ideas. So of course France can go to liberty and fraternity and whatever. India cannot do that for many regions, because first of all the religions in India, they are very powerful and they're mingled up with politics very much. Indian constitution itself is kind of, it's not 100% secular, because I mean the secularism is not there, and it was not there, as you said. Indira Gandhi inserted this term, without even introducing it to the people. It was emergency. So this should have been rejected immediately. But of course, I mean, people didn't have the power, they couldn't do that. So if they really want to have it, they should go for election, they should do it, and they should bring it in the parliament and have a debate on that. This should have been the way, but that never happened in India. It was just introduced, it was just inserted there. And if you look at Indian constitution, you all know what is there, and look at the constitution of Germany, it is totally different. So one thing more which I missed to say earlier, nowadays even German government is making some kind of agreements with different religious groups, especially with the Muslims. The state is doing an agreement to give them special positions, to give them special grants, or especially to educate their kids, or even more Maulvis here. This is not done for Hinduism and not for Buddhism, not for Jainism. So of course then I wonder about the Indian journalists. What are they doing? Where are they sleeping? Why don't they raise such issues? Why is the Washington Post or BBC or New York Times, they just writes anything rubbish what they don't know about? Indian journalists must go to West and research on the ground and see what is happening in the West.
Okay.
There is much more deeper story. This I can't say here, but I mean we need to understand in that terms.
Okay. So just you quoted the Indian journalists should go and research. So I'll take the brief, just the brief reaction from the Anita ji. Anita ji, do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Now how just Dr. R.B. Bhatt just reacted and just shared his view. Indian journalists should go the West and just research about this word religion and secularism. A very brief note.
Yes. As we see that in India, secularism means to appease only one minorities. We have almost 14 minorities community, more than 14. But secularism and minority means only one community in India. This is the basic problem with Indian journalists. Now, Indian journalists should go there and learn what is the meaning of secularism.
No. My question is actually whatever raised by the Dr. Bhatt. He was saying he is saying how the religion, that's the secularism. The word is how they are going to implicate on way with reference to India.
My next part is that only. My next part is that only. I'm totally agree with Mr. Bhatt. But if you will go to abroad, you will see first you adapt the culture of that country, and then you go with your own custom and culture. So there is a secularism, but as per understanding, you adapt all the things which has mentioned by that country and that government, and you don't have any problem. And on that way, the secularism and religion very smoothly run with the parallel line. They go together and they don't create any conflict. But when you come to India, when you will say you have to follow and you have to adapt the guidelines of the government about the secularism, as secularism is not defined in India, but If it will like that, then you will find the road has blocked. The people are on road. They will raise
Okay.
slogan.
Okay.
So this is
Yeah.
the problem with Indian secularism and Western secularism. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So Alok ji, how does this problem and how just you defined earlier the secularism in the Europe and the Western Europe is the different part, as well as the secularism words derives from there, come from, and to is spread globally. And we are not talking about, we're not going to talk the 57 countries, the Islamic countries, why they are not implying and are not implementing the rules of the secularism. That is also a matter of discussion. Next program we will discuss in detail. So my question is, as we know, as understand, the religion and secularism can't go there, but why the word is skipping by the concerned countries and as well as India also?
The basic question still remains unanswered, which is, can religion and secularism go together? I mean, one cannot exist without the other. In case there was no religion, we'll not be talking about various secular values. So since there are many religions, but like we have been talking in earlier programs also, I've always said that there are two base religions. One is Judaism and the second one is Sanatan Dharma. And from there, various religions have popped up. So on one side, we have the Jews, and then you have the Christians, and then you have the Muslims, and here we have what is generally called the Hindus, or in that we have the Sanatans, or we have the Buddhists, the Jainis, and Sikhism comes in. Now, where does the problem start? As Dr. Bhatt said, like in Europe, there has been until now a homogeneous society. And in spite of that fact, the only difference which was there, it was the Catholicism and the Protestantism. So Martin Luther comes up and he starts up this idea of, a non-Catholic church. And that's the only difference which was there, but they always preached with the same religious book, which was the Bible. Now, with immigration coming in, the European society is also becoming homogeneous. So what had been happening in India, there was, let's say we start with the Mughal period. Obviously, since the state religion was Islam, so there was, inclination towards Islam. Then East India Company comes in. In principle, they were not much interested in any type of religion. They did do some reforms, but largely, and because of what had been, 17th century onwards, when they come here and the idea of separation of polity with the religion was there, and this was implied, and they were not there, like President Biden has said, we are not here for nation making, and the East India Company and later on the British India was also not in India for nation building. So they kind of kept aloof with the religion. I agree with what Tiwari ji says, that the concept of getting religion into constitution was not required, because it has to be, the polity has to be secular. I mean, you cannot be in favor of one religion or the other. It has to be like this. So bringing it up, as he said, is that, which means it earlier we were not, and from 1976 we suddenly became secular. It was never like this. In the Indian context, there were various religions which are coexisting always. You can see Ajanta caves, Ellora caves. You have, a Hindu temple next to a Buddhist temple, or a Jain temple within the complex of a Hindu king. So this has been existing ever since. Where does the problem start? The problem does not start with the Parsis coming to India. It also does not start with the Jews there. Jews have been living in India in since X number of years, and nothing has happened. They have always lived in peace with the rest of the religion which were existing in India. The problem is only with certain religions which are expansionist, who want to convert certain people from their religion to, so it's a kind of expansionism which is going on. That is where the problem comes in. Now, because there is another reason, and I like to remember Prashant Kishore because of this, and he said that Muslims know how to vote, and the rest of the people, they don't know how to vote. Now, this is very important, and there I like to get Dr. Bhatt also. Why now what is happening in Europe is that they are giving certain mileage to certain religious groups is again because they vote in cluster. This is becoming day and day more important. Now, we cannot say that the religion is not part of the polity. For example, I'll give you an example. In the Catholic Europe, the church has a very important part to play. For example, when we in Spain, make our tax returns, there is a square box which, if you click on that, a certain percentage of the tax I pay to the government goes to the church. So, church has its own method of funding. Now, what is happening in India is we have changed the definition of the word secular. The secular word itself means that government does not have any religion. So government should not, in principle, give any kind of financial help to any religious group. Like we were talking about.
But there is a question now, and this is going to be controversy in India, and how just the temples are going to be controlled in the government, and the other mosque and the other churches are not taking the.
I was coming to that only.
Yeah.
I was coming to
that
that
is
only.
actually we have sort of time, so that's why I'm just trying to just give brief up, and then I'll take the Vandana ji. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is happening is, on one side, church knows how to control itself. They have a hierarchy where they control the all the churches. At the Church of India, and there is a religious head, there is also a political head of that. But what happens with the mosques is, there was somebody politically active enough, and he was not a Muslim, who made the Waqf board. And a similar body was not made for control of the Hindu temples. So what is happening is, you are taking from the Hindu temples. Now, in case the government is secular, it should not go intervene into Hindu temples or the mosque or the churches or anything. They should not also pay any or anybody. There should be no donations for any religious group. This is not happening. This is not happening, and it should be challenged in court. Like, can a chief minister go and say, okay, we are going to build this particular building for a particular building group, or take away all the donations the Hindus give to their temples and use it for whatever reason? Even if you want to build up a hotel, or you want to build up a hospital, or you want to give it to some charity foundation, you cannot do it, because that is the property of a pious Hindu who is giving it to the temple in the name of his faith. Government cannot take it away. But in case we are doing it, so that overlap is there. Even in Europe, it is there, because certain governments, Catholic governments, mostly, they have, for example, in the center of Italy, you have the Vatican City, which is a country in itself. So obviously, religion is playing a very important part. You cannot divide the two. But in case the policy of the government is to remain secular, then it has to be really secular, and it cannot, give a new term or keep reinventing the definition of the word secular, which is happening in India.
So, Vandana, how do you define the? As you earlier said, you have changed the meaning of secular, SICKULAR. So, and it depicts all the define the how security going on in India, but how you relate to the India and America, the definition of secularism.
I would like to tell you one thing. America predominantly is a Christian country. We have more than 75% people, those who are Christians. If I go to any main gathering, they will have a pastor, he will play the player, and we all respect. We have forgotten there are certain things in Hindu, like in Sanatan Dharma, when we about to start our meal, we have to say the prayer. But when I'm going to any of the Indian gatherings, let it be even Hindu gatherings, do we do that? No, we are missing it, to be very honest. Still, before the meal, they do say prayer before eating. Coming back to the politics as well as the religion, 1 million vote was granted to, it was promised to Biden for election by the Muslims. So, and then what happens, we are seeing it, because once they guarantee that, then they get whatever they want, because Hindus are only photo opportunities. I always call them PhD, photo hungry desi. Picture banaya, that's it. But when it comes to Muslims, they ask them, what the hell are you giving us in return? So that is what the politics will that ever be separated? I don't think so in the coming future. Coming to the context of India, India has to, now we do have a very nationalistic government which is taking care of all the interests. So as I mentioned, central government has to come, and there comes your judiciary who has to do real work into this. To be honest, how they have to do it, because if Indira Gandhi can bring that in 70s, so Modi ji can take it off on 5th of August 2021, to be very honest. Let that be very strong, because they who have to do the protest, let them do it. I know, I know, Lahad, you're laughing.
Yeah.
But this has been expected. We don't want to be the mockery. Outside India, it becomes a joke. Because the people, those who are of Indian origin, the journalists itself, those who are sitting here and representing the mainstream, like let it be Washington Post, let it be New York Times, they are all contributing negative about India. I mean, that is not should be accepted. And as he mentioned that why can't we do have such one brain. We do have Anita ji. We should have people like her, like others, those who take care of, because India is progressing too. Tiwari ji, I know.
No, Tiwari is also a Nestlist person. Don't worry on that point. Tiwari is also a Nestlist person, and he's by heart he's Hindustani. Yeah, he is keeping alive the word Hindustani in Canada. I am telling you, this is the fact.
Yeah, no. Yeah. No, I can see that's what means. But what I'm saying, we need to have people, those who have pen in their hand, microphone in their hand, and can talk positive about India. India is not what India was before 2014, what India was before 1947. So India's progress and India, what it has delivered, we have seen COVID, very recent example. So that should be brought. Thank you.
So according to your view, religion and secularism can't go together. Am I right?
No, because they have to go. Like, but still, they are not. Means I'm just going to. You're not being able to separate them. Politicians, Anita ji did mention, टोपी पहन के आते हैं, वो यहाँ पे भी आते हैं, मंदिर में आते हैं, वोट लेने के लिए आते हैं. जब 1 मिलियन वोट की गारंटी होती है, तो बाइडेन जी भी 17 भाषा में उनको बोलते हैं, yes, अब की बार जो means like जैसे हुआ था अब की बार ट्रम्प सरकार. So this will not be, because this is going to take long before me and you are gone. It is not going to, because the way it is changing, they will go together, to be honest. What I'm seeing it, because
last take Tiwari ji.
Well, thank you so much. So, well, I would like to say one thing again. When I was mentioning about the Brigu and Wayne.
Last question, not go on that. Whatever you just speak, and just the counter by Dr. Bhatt. We have just the running of time. Only request is religion and secularism can go together or can't. Simple. A straight question, a straight answer.
I had given the straight answer. Number one, the state has no business in the affairs of people. The state cannot differentiate its citizens on the basis of religion. That's the fundamental thing. Okay, and religion is every individual's personal right, and they have a right to pray accordingly, however they want to. No interference. No country actually, when we talk about it, the moment any government, any state, I will not say government, because governments may come and go, but the laws they are there for a longer period, or they are there for the fundamental values. So when we talk about that, so a state cannot differentiate, or any state which is differentiating between its own people, when they are giving priority to one religion compared to another, that's the time we know that they cannot call themselves democratic. So when you say we are Islamic democratic, we are Jewish democratic, we are Christian democratic, you are not democratic. Because at the same time,
so my last question to
let me complete this line. So any country in the world, when they say that supposedly there is a majority, just like Israel, let me say this, they say, well, you know what, we are a Jewish country, but we are Republican, we are democratic in that way. So those people who are not Jewish, right then and there, they become second-class citizens. Okay, that's my point. What is your?
So my last question to all the 5 panelists.
I have one line to say on this line. I have one line to say on this line,
No, no,
that
no, madam, please.
secularism and religion go together. In my point of view, religion is your identity. You cannot forget your forefather. Even when the
Is a
child is coming,
person's
the
identity,
child is
not
on your
religion.
womb.
No, no,
One
no, don't
Sharma, one
respond.
Choudhary is coming, not the secular bacha is coming. When you when you share
Madam, please.
news with
My
your family,
question,
please try
is
to
different.
understand. When you share this
My
news to
question
your
is
family,
different.
you say, "Oh, one Choudhary is coming." You are not saying that one secular is
Madam,
coming.
I'm asking what
So
you are replying a different way.
religion
Please,
always supersede on secularism. Religion
I'm
is your
coming.
identity, secularism is your political tool. Just try to
No,
understand it.
whatever you define religion, identity, and political tool, my question was different. My question to everyone panelist, and within 1 minute, just to say yes and no. Do you think, as an all NRI and the permanent origin of Indian origin, secularism word should be removed from the Indian constitution with the present circumstances? Yes or no?
Would I? Can I say now?
Sir, no elaboration, only yes or no.
Well, that you have given me 1 minute, so let me complete the
No,
1 minute.
1 minute for all five, sir.
No, you
10
cannot.
seconds.
You
10
cannot
seconds.
remove it. You have
Thank
done.
you.
You
Thank
have done the
Dr.
damage.
Bhatt.
You have
Dr.
done the
Bhatt.
damage. Now, even you try to remove it, you will be in a bigger mess than this.
Okay, thank you, sir. Dr. Bhatt.
Yes, I think it is impossible to do that now, given the situation, the social, cultural, and especially religious problems in India. It is not possible because
Alok ji.
I think it should be reintroduced properly in a parliamentarian manner, and not the way it was brought in 1976 by the government which was existing there.
Okay. Vandana ji.
India will.
It will stay there,
this way.
I know, for sure.
Stage.
But the definition of it has to be provided, and then consequences if you don't follow. So that is also there, because, and nobody should be, because we have 303, we are going for 400. We should
Yeah.
in a very strong manner. Not that Hajj house ban jaye or Hajj ka airport ban jaye.
No, you mean to say no. Vandana ji, you mean to say appeasement and secularism should not be there, either secularism or no appeasement. You mean to say, Anita ji.
First time I am agree with in one point with Tiwari ji, that we should not talk about the secularism. If we are talking about the secularism, it means you are talking about the religion. So we should remove this word from our constitution.
Thank you. Okay? Thank you.
Well, I didn't say that you remove the word from
actually,
secularism.
so thanks to all of you, and we discussed to the religion and versus secularism, and really not religion and secularism. Religion is important or not, and secularism is important or not. But the most of the panelists say, okay, secularism, whatever introduced the politically and by with the special tactics introduced by the Indira Gandhi in 1976 with the 42nd amendment in our Indian Constitution, that was not the properly introduced, not properly defined, just for the sake of the votes politics and on vested interest politics. So in the present circumstances, that should be properly defined. If necessary, that may be removed. Otherwise, and whatever the other political parties and the other minorities, which especially Muslims, are just trying to take the privileges on the name of the constitution, this should be also properly defined for our India and for the other parts of the world also, how secularism is going on. If secularism is going on, so the United Nations, according to my view, to take a resolution, if they can, the 57 countries, whatever the name of the only one religion, that should be also introduce the secularism, as I think so. So nice of you, and we just participate in this interesting and wonderful debate. Welcome to the Global Governance News TV, and just to see, subscribe and share this TV, and for the sake of this, as I believe in the nationalist journalism and media, just to be for the country. and as defined Lincoln, that democracy about that. So thank you. Nice of all. Thanks to all of you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.